After watching Swagmaster's video, I thought it was finally clear as to how Zelda's timeline could actually work. But I think we're ignoring a huge issue. As pointed out by Oharo and Wind Mage Master, the existence of a timeline split cannot actually work in Skyward Sword. See Rick028's comment for full context. TLDR, the present has not been changed due to the events of the past. Aharo pointed out that Impa is already wearing the bracelet when you first meet her, and you can even see Zelda's amber seal behind the door in the sealed temple. I went back in Skyward Sword to confirm this myself, and they are correct. But how can that be when Zelda has yet to learn of her identity as Hylia reborn as a mortal? How can Impa already have the bracelet when Zelda hasn't given it to her yet? If the Master Sword still exists, then there can't be a Goddess Sword that somehow turns into the Picori Blade generations later. Keep in mind, Link sealed the Master Sword away in the past along with Fi, after killing Demise and stealing away his spirit in the sword. So the Goddess Sword no longer exists. It is the Master Sword from that point on. This obviously opens up massive holes in Swagamaster's entire thought process. The whole Wish and Murder timelines are no longer possible, and, therefore, the rest of his timeline doesn't really work. So, what do we do here? We still have at least one timeline that's hard to figure out. The child and adult timelines are very sound, following clear rules from Ocarina of Time. Hyrule is still around in the adult era, which brings us Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks. And with the child era, we follow the Hero of Time on one last adventure, his direct descendant, the Hero of Twilight, and then the Hero of Light fighting Vati for the last time. That leaves what you must have guessed already approximately 2 minutes ago, the Fallen timeline. How? How could there possibly be a timeline where Link was defeated when 2 timelines exist where he wasn't? Well, that brings us to Bandit Games, who came up with another interesting theory, the Abandoned timeline. Be sure to watch his video for full context. TLDR, Link fails in a timeline where he awakened all the sages, but has yet to kill Ganondorf. He isn't killed, but rather isn't around to stop Ganondorf from turning the Sacred Realm into the Dark World. I think this works very well, wiping away so much confusion we've had all these years. But now we have one last question to answer. Where does Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom fall in line? According to Nintendo themselves, they come at the very end of each timeline. Does that mean there's something connecting all 3 together? According to game theory, it's all thanks to Hyrule Warriors utilizing the multiverse, even though Hyrule Warriors isn't canon. With that in mind, let's try something else. Both Zoras and Rito exist in this generation, even though in Wind Waker the Rito are supposed to be the evolved variant of the Zora following the Hyrule Flood. Which is something I never understood. Wouldn't Zoras feel right at home in the Great Sea? Reading from the wiki, it's because the Great Sea only allowed the fishmen and monsters to inhabit its ethereal waters. Okay, fine, I'll take it. But look at the Rito from Wind Waker, look at the Rito from Breath of the Wild. These are not the same race of bird people. Swagamaster had the same mindset that they were different variants, they just share the same name. Admittedly, the channel Nehru actually brings plenty of evidence that these two are the same, they just evolved further. But I like to go against the grain, even if I risk sounding dumb. Keep in mind that these Rito were forced to evolve, but with the Wild's Rito, we don't know. This brings us to another theory people beat me to the punch on, the Loft Wings from Skyward Sword. Where did they go? Did they go extinct? Disappear from existence? I believe it's possible, after humans moved to the surface, the Loft Wings were no longer needed for travel, so they adapted to the new environment, still retaining their ability to fly. Then they decided to leave to find their own land, which is why we don't see them in any other games. They were feeling underappreciated, so they didn't want to stay with the Hylians, only to come across what would become Great Hyrule, long before the Zonai would descend from the Sky Islands. That's another thing we need to discuss. Hyrule. This is not the same Hyrule from any of the other games we've played, which is why I refer to it as Great Hyrule, as it is called in-game. However, this land couldn't have gotten its name from nowhere. I theorize that Rauru was inspired to create a new and better kingdom than the ones that came before, only to fall victim to the Ocarina of Time twist. Ganondorf is always finding a way to come back, which is where the imprisoning war comes in. This is what links all the games together once again. No matter which timeline we follow, the Zonai leave the skies, Rauru forms Great Hyrule, and a new Ganondorf is born, growing up into Matt Mercer playing Batman. With that said, this is the new timeline we have, which is how Nintendo made it. I just changed some things, such as Link's Awakening taking place after the Oracle games again. I'm pretty sure that's how it's supposed to be. But I'm just an idiot, so don't take this as gospel. What did I miss? What did I get wrong? How can I fix it? Should we just drop the discussion altogether before our brains explode? Yes. Now, obviously, there's a difference between critiquing and just being an asshole. Do not do the latter. You can criticize his video, but don't harass him for being dumb. I'm the dumb one. That's my thing. With that said, how did I do? Was I mean?